Hey everyone, do you love tabletop RPGs and want to help shape a brand new system? Then let me tell you about Legend Seeker and how you can support its development while getting some awesome perks. By subscribing to our legendary tier on YouTube or becoming a paid member on our Discord or Patreon, you'll get early access to all Legend Seeker lore and mechanics. This means you'll be among the first to dive into the world of Legend Seeker and give direct feedback that will help shape the game. But that's not all. Supporters will also be the first to playtest the system and will get exclusive invites to private streams where we discuss the game in detail. Your input will play a huge role in making Legend Seeker the best that it can be. Now, for those of you who love watching our tabletop role-playing game shows, supporting Legend Seeker comes with some fun bonuses for the casts. Here's how it works. If you are a Copper or Common member on Discord or Patreon, you can give a $20 benefit to a player of your choice. Silver and Uncommon members can give 2 benefits to 2 players of your choice. If you go the YouTube route, you can give a $50 benefit to a player of your choice. And for the ultimate support, Gold and Mythic members on Discord and Patreon give a $20 benefit to 3 players of your choice. You can choose from all casts across Moonskull. Every bit of support goes directly towards making Legend Seeker a reality. It helps fund the art, writing, editing, and eventual publishing of the game. So, if you want to be a part of this journey and support our shows, join our legendary tier on YouTube or become a member on Discord or Patreon. We couldn't do it without you, and we're excited to build Legend Seeker together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the game. Hello, you chat bastards. It is time for some legend lore writing with me, Erudi, your favorite generous, most benevolent, roguish, dashing, and dare I say handsome game master. And we are going to be doing some more work on the Tome of Threats, as you can see over in our little category indicator over there. I definitely have some stuff to work on here. I'm going to mess with this filter a little bit, though. Let me see something. I don't know if that filter is quite filtery enough, but I bet I could turn it up just slightly. Let's see. So the filter setting on this says... Actually, I don't know what this is under. I think it's over my... I think it's over this one. Filter. Ah, yeah, there it is. So I think if I move that up just slightly... Oop, that's a little too much. That does not look like it does nearly enough, does it? There we go. That looks a little bit more like what we need. I'm not even going to tell you guys what the setting is, though, because that would be terrible. There. I think it's good. I think that looks pretty good. It wasn't my fault. There. There's a similar thing to what you put... I don't know what you mean. Is that you put in Patreon and Pathfinder? Oh, you're saying there's a similar... Well, I'm sure there's going to probably be some sort of overlap on some things. There's been so many high fantasy adventure things done out there, you're bound to have some overlap or similarities. All right. So let's get to it. Well, it didn't look, now that I'm looking at it, it didn't look quite as pixelated as I thought once I went live. So it was a little too late. I was already here, but hey, here we go. Hope you guys liked the new little transition that we had. I hope that you guys thought that was pretty cool. Sprucing the place up, making it a little bit more professional for everybody. All right, so we're gonna be working on the Toma threats. I think last time we ended with the cockatrice, so we're gonna move on to some more monsters here. Let me pull up my other document so that we can find the creatures that we are looking for to talk about. Because I have a list, and I'm checking it twice. Oops. Oops. Man, too many things popping up. Stop that. All right. I think the next creature we're going to talk about today, chat. You know what? I'll tell you in a second. First, I'm going to come say hello to you guys. See who we got out there once I find my spot where I want to be. Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe we'll do that one. I don't even know. I haven't really thought about what that'd be like in the system. So we're gonna do some brainstorming together today, chat. But let me say hello to you fine folks out there. We got Dragon Noodle Soup, who's a mythic tier supporter. Thank you. Glad that you are here. Chrysanth, I guess the Queen Shirt's okay to be here. She does do her mythic support too, I suppose. And we got Frost. If you usually watch the lore streams, that's probably who you spend a lot of time with. Glad to have you here, 100%. And it looks like that's who we got, at least who are chatting at the moment. And I'm sure many more of you will pipe in here and there as we go. So if you don't know, what we're doing here is we're going to be writing some lore, and we are going to be talking about nothing but mythics here. Hey, I am happy for the mythic support, let's be honest. I'm glad that you guys are passionate about it, hanging out and working through this with me. I do expect a slightly lower turnout than usual. Obviously, we're doing it on the new Legend Seeker channel. We haven't established quite the following there that we have on Moonskull or on Tabletop, but I'm hoping as we go, it'll pick up, and we'll get those watch hours up, and more people will become attracted to the channel. Oh no, not hiccups. Why hiccups? So I think we're going to talk about centaurs. I think we're going to talk about centaurs. Now, the question is, how do I want to put centaurs into this setting? I haven't really thought about them too much and where they would fit. But, I mean, centaurs are pretty common in high fantasy, and I think it would make sense that they would exist. I think that they would probably be tribal, for sure. And I don't think they would live among the more civilized of society. I think that would also be a definite for sure. What's up, Chris the Geek? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, technically we all are half centaur. I guess that is... the question is, you know, which half? The results can be very different depending on which half of you is half centaur. Oh my god. You should have a tribe of goblins that worship the infidelity god. Well, we don't currently... Would goblins be into Davila? Maybe. At the very least on the hedonistic side, yeah. That would make sense. I could also see them being big fans of Xerath as well. Kind of getting into war and stuff. But I do picture the goblins in our setting being more mischievous, and definitely enjoying a hedonistic lifestyle, very much into doing what's instinctually fun and pleasurable in the moment. So that could make some sense. I could see that. Yeah, I think either one of those. I mean, technically, any god's viable for any of the races out there. But yeah, I could definitely see goblins leaning strongly towards Zerath and probably towards Davila. I could see that. All right, so let's see. We're going to put Centaur. And I gotta think about how I want to chat about centaurs here and how to make them. What would make them uniquely? I definitely think they would be worshippers of Erendor, by far and large. They would definitely be Erendor followers. You know what? Let me bring up something else here too that I want to look at. Mm-mm. If you haven't, I mean, you're all Mythic supporters. If you haven't went over and looked at the corpse effigy yet, which I did add and will be in this document, but I'm not going to discuss it on stream because this is a exclusive for you guys. But you should go check it out. It's a pretty twisted and interesting edition, I would say. I do dare say. All right, I think this is good. I would say they are. Let me look at Arendor's passage here. What? Why did I just get all those beeps? Who the hell's beeping at me? I thought it was the Queen shirt, but it wasn't this time. For once, it wasn't you, Chrysanth. I think. Arendor being the god of the wilds would definitely make a lot of sense. And they would definitely be on the outskirts of civilization. They wouldn't be living right among the more civilized areas. They probably have a decent number of warriors and druids. Strong warrior caste. Um, Although a centaur druid is an interesting thought because you're already half person, half animal, and you just morph into an animal. Would a human be animalistic to a centaur? Could you turn it to a human? Um, let's see. Do we still have Frost in chat? Do we still have Frost in chat? I'm trying to think of where these guys would maybe be on the outside of. Well, shit. I just moved past where I wanted to be. Um, let's see. And they're probably really hostile to humanoids in general, I would say. Lots of places that could be, especially in the areas near the Orklands, Wild, etc. Where the Orklands would probably be a spot they could be. Anywhere there's plains and hills. So maybe I just generally say they're on the outskirts. I don't have to maybe list a specific region if we just know that they're kind of specifically where they need to be, right? So how about we say. So I went too far. You say that centaurs are centaurs. They revere Arendor for sure. How would you describe a upper body of? Wait, yeah, upper body of a human. Um, Lower body of a horse. Okay. Reflects the harmony between man and nature. What's up, JJ Jr.? What's going on? Yeah, maybe centaurs are more of the manipulating nature and preserving nature side of druidship, not so much the shape changing. I don't know what I keep getting beeped for, but I don't see. I don't know what the hell it's coming from. I have no notifications, but I keep hearing it loud in my ear. Very weird. Uh, so obviously their look is very distinct. Um, they're outdoors, so we would say perhaps their skin is deeply tanned. Hmm. What's another word we could use for their other half? That's not equestrian half. No, equestrians. Is it equine? Is equine a word? While they're equine halves, I think that's a word. If not, I can always change it later. All right. Am I do? Where the hell am I getting all these goddamn messages? God. Hey. All right. I don't know who's messaging me, but that's wild. All right. Is equine a word? Equine? Okay, okay. Everybody agrees. Everybody agrees that equine is a word. I didn't make that one up. Um. Okay. Coloration of. We're not going to list a specific place, so we'll just say they are most commonly found on the edges of civilization. We'll talk about how they prefer plains and um, probably ancient forests. And they probably see themselves as like guardians, maybe even the rightful protectors of the wild. That's getting really annoying. All right. Yeah, they'll definitely have a fast travel speed. Does this mean they're hung like horses? That's a question I'll let you entertain. If you would like to think about the assets that a centaur might have, if that's where your mind is, I'll let you dwell on that thought, and you can tell us your theories. You can tell it, or not. You could keep them to yourself as well. Um. All right, I think that's a good for the first paragraph. And then we'll. What else might we need to say about them? So we talked about their kind of appearance and where they'd be found. Um, Probably want to talk about their culture a little bit. So we're definitely going to say they're tribal. And we're going to say they prize martial prowess and spiritual connection, specifically to the land, or to nature, we'll say. Mm-hmm. I apologize if there's little beats of silence where I'm just kind of typing. I don't want to read everything out loud, um, but I'll catch up with chat here in a second. So feel free to chat amongst yourselves as I'm thinking about what I want to type here. Hmm. I kind of think of them as oh god, I can't think of what they're called. Who are the horsemen from the wilds, the wild folk from Game of Thrones that Daenerys ends up with? Oh man, I can't think of their name right now. Mm-hmm. It'll come to me in a minute, or you guys will say it first. Dothraki. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Oh, true. I guess I don't really need the headphones, but that's all right. I'll leave the headphones on because I know what you chat bastards are after. Also, lets me know when you message me in my DMs. Writing streams typically have periods of silence. Well, true. Because Frost says I never go silent. Chrysanthemum, never. Yeah, I don't imagine these guys probably being big coin traders. I'd probably say they're in large part isolationists. And are not too friendly to outsiders. They'll stomp you into dirt with their hooves. God, how do I spell this? Encroachments. Okay. Maybe some go to the cities. Maybe they believe there's some way to reach across the aisle, as it were, and kind of encroach that gap between civilization and nature. Maybe even teach people to respect nature, perhaps. But most of them are probably isolationists. Mm. Ambassadors. Ambassadors. I think that's pretty good. We'll just mention that they have wisdom and strength, and I think I can leave it there. Let me see what I wrote here. Make sure it makes sense, because sometimes what I write doesn't make sense. Frost will tell me, "Hey, you said this thing like the same way 4 times. It doesn't make sense." And I'll be like, "Okay, you just remove the other 3. That's cool." Mm-hmm. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and change all of the things that say Erudia when I'm done if we don't end up voting for Erudia. But I also don't want to write placeholder everywhere. Erudia just looks nicer. But whatever the name is, should be easy enough to F3 search Erudia and replace all. Yeah, some sort of ambassador to go into the cities and civilized areas and not only try to get some trade for the things that perhaps they don't have access to or might be struggling to attain, but also to be ambassadors about nature and try to, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Reach out to the governments of these cities and try to convince them, hey, you don't need to go here or go there or build here or build there, and you should conserve this and maybe be careful of overhunting here, and things like that. Sort of trying to get them to respect what nature needs. They're maybe not always successful, but they do try. Yeah, I definitely think they would probably trade more in items than they would coin. They don't really have currency out there, I don't think, in the same way. But maybe not. Maybe they do keep the coin of, say, trespassers on their lands. That would make sense if there's like bandits or people going out there to try to desecrate their lands or steal the wonders of their tribes. Maybe they keep the gold and treasures from those people and then take them into town and trade them for things that they could actually use. But yeah, I doubt they have any sort of actual circulating economy that they would use coin for. You sell their own poop? Wow, that'd be a racket. I will say I probably am looking at centaurs being highly isolationist. I even wrote shunning the encroachments of modern society. Um, so they're probably not overly friendly. They're probably not lending their skills in insignificant or enormous ways. They're probably tribe first. Um, but there are probably a few, at least, some centaurs who go out and try to bridge the gap. Few and far between, but they would be there. I think kind of pioneers of ambassadors of their people, trying to find some common ground. But probably not a lot of them. Most of the tribes are probably pretty hostile. Yeah, I think that's good. And they're staunch supporters of Arendor. I think that's about as much as you can say about centaurs for now. For the purpose of a bestiary, that's about as deep as we need to get. Um, we're looking for about 2 paragraphs of information that tells somebody enough that they know what to do with these guys, right? Hmm. Could talk about cats very briefly. We can go to cats later, though. We'd have small cats, large cats, and probably dire cats. So we could talk about cats in general and then discuss what would fall into each category. But that's a pretty easy and mundane one. I can do that one off stream. I don't need to do that here. As much as I like cats. Now, there is a creature that I made note of that I am curious about putting in our setting, but I don't know how. I don't think it's an exclusive creature. The Dark Mantle. I know it's in both D&D and Pathfinder. But is it based on any real lore in the world? Dark mental. What would be the word? Let's say mythology. Let's see if there's some. Dark mantles are tentacled creatures. Yeah. Doesn't look like dark mantles are based on real world mythology. Which kind of sucks because now I got to think about, is that an IP protected creature? I think they're really cool. It doesn't look like dark mantles have any root in real world mythology. So that begs the question: is it a protected IP creature? Dark mantle copyright. Well, it's in the SRD, which makes me think it most likely is not a copyrighted creature. Obviously, I can't use the exact stats that they have. That's copyrighted, but I can't. Typically, if it shows up in the SRD, it's not protected IP. So I think so. I think that should be fine. See what you guys are saying over here. Oh, there's a broad spectrum of centaurs for sure that have different practices and beliefs. So in this particular book, we won't be able to cover too deep into that. That'll probably be more expanded on. So the idea behind the Tome of Threats is to have some references to the setting, but be generic enough that you could put them into your own setting or wherever, without getting too in the nitty gritty. Because we're going to be doing about 144, 145 creatures that I have on this list. Um, that's a lot of creatures to get through. So I'm trying to keep most of these to about 2, 3 paragraphs tops per creature. Some of them maybe even one paragraph if they're simple enough. So we want to kind of get to the core of what they are. What do they look like? What do they do, like for attacks and powers and things like that? And then some really point blank basic stuff about where they're from and how they behave and what they believe. And then understand that there would be a broader spectrum of those if you dove a little bit deeper. So if you go to each of the tribes are going to have different philosophies and might practice different magics. You might have a corrupted druid centaur tribe who are very evil, or you might just have centaurs who are kind of war bands and really anti-human, anti-humanoids, and not only are isolationists against them, but also sometimes even are warlike against them, making advances on the road and stuff like that. So there's definitely room for a lot of different ways centaurs can behave tribally, but I think I hit the nuts and bolts of what they are. Um, I guess I could always rename them too. But a dark mantle is essentially it's a creature that kind of clings to the ceiling. It's kind of octopus like. It's got like an octopus kind of bottom, but a bit of like a almost tremor type head. And they sit still like they're the oh, what's the one that's on the ceiling? I always get this fucking wrong. Stalactite, I think, is the one on the ceiling. I think so. But it is so they hang there, and then when a foe drops, is beneath that, they drop onto their head. All right, so we're gonna put them in, and if I have to rename what the creature is, we can work on that and try to make the creature a little bit more unique to itself. Go with Dark Mantle. And we'll put that down here. Dark Mantle. Stalactite. So I was right. So I got it right. Look at that. I'm genius, Chad. I'm a genius. My big brain. My big brain. All right. So a dark mantle, we'll say, is a sinister tentacled creature that dwells in the shadowy corners of Erudi. Oops. Hmm. Hold on. Found predominantly. No, that doesn't make sense. We'll say the orc lens for now. We can change that later. Um, they cling to cave ceilings. These are patient creatures. They wait, which means they probably digest slowly. Sarlacc pits, but in trees and cave tops. We have a lot of ambush predators in this game. We'll get into some more predatory predators probably coming up. Cloak-like bodies? And I think they have, I think they'll have some additional abilities to help. So once they're down there, they'll have the ability to cast like magical darkness down there to confuse their prey. Do they lay eggs? That's a good question. Do they lie around waiting to do the hanky panky as little monsters? I'm not so sure. How do they know when their prey is near? They've probably got some sort of tremor sense or blind sense, I would say. That would make sense to me, especially being cave dwelling creatures. I'd say they probably see through things like invisibility or illusion magic. Probably got yeah, they seem pretty. Oh yeah, they're carnivores. They're definitely other creatures. Stalactites hold tight to the ceiling. Stalagmites might one day reach the ceiling. Well, there you go. I feel like I should remember that, but I just never do. Hmm. Do they see? They have blind sense or tremor. They might have some like ability to detect tremors or some sort of blind sense, something like a sonar or other way of detecting that doesn't require actual eyes. Most likely, I think would be the case. Oh, it's Chrysanth. Chrysanth is the one that's beeping in my ear. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so we'll say that they are most commonly encountered in subterranean environments. Oh god, subterranean Anean. Nope. Word does not agree. There we go. Um but where else could we find them besides like caves? Probably in ruins, dense, kind of like shadowy woods or forests. And I forgot to mention they were kind of patient and up front, even though I said it to you guys, I didn't type it yet. So let's see. Say their predatory patience. Oops. Mm, these aren't very vocal creatures either. They're probably very silent. Enigmatic horrors. I think that's pretty good. Except for I need to use the right tense and say known. Okay. All right, well, hopefully dark mantles are something we can actually use. I guess we'll find out. Oh, mines definitely. Dwarves would definitely not be a fan of these creatures. I see. I told you. I told you, Frost. Damn it, you're right. I did tell you that, didn't I? Hmm. While they are most commonly. For some reason, Microsoft Word does not like the fact that I said why they are most commonly encountered. It's saying that's excessive. It wants it to be more concise. Well, screw you. I like wordiness. That makes sense. Wear pointy hats just in case a dark mantle falls on your head. Nice pointy hat. Dunce caps might not seem so stupid if you're traveling where dark mantles might be about. Being a dunce might actually be an asset. All right, I think that's about as much as I can say about a dark mantle, at least for now. You wouldn't happen to know if dark mantles have any roots in the real world, would you, Frost? Oh, here's another one I was curious about. We're getting into an area where I've got a lot of questions. I can't imagine this is copyrighted, though. Maybe this exact combination would be an issue. So I really like death webs, which are also in 5e and Pathfinder. Um, they're essentially undead husks of spiders. And it's like filled with tons of little spiders. I don't know if they're. I have to look that up. I don't think there's anything copyrighted. This once again looks like it's found in the SRD, and it's a decent rule of thumb to say that if it's found in the resource document, they probably didn't have the means to protect it. It looks like there's death webs in Hearthstone as well. Yeah, death webs are all over the place. So we could definitely do death webs. So let's do death webs, because I think that'll be cool. I think death webs are a cool concept. After that, I think we might get into a whole category. We might start talking about demons a little bit. I don't know if Frost has actually talked about demons on his stream. Have you gone into demons, Frost? That's another challenge I'm trying to figure out with this particular book, is how much I want to talk about the setting aspect of things like demons, because that's going to be a category with a bunch of other things underneath it. So do I want to talk about everything with demons, or do I want to give like a brief understanding of what they are, and then let the Erudi campaign setting book really break them down? See, that's where it gets kind of tricky. I guess I could look and see how the pros do it. They'd technically be considered undead. And I'd say they're probably reviled by Mordecai and his followers. Is that important though? Is it actually important to tie that to a god? Probably not. But they are considered, I think, undead. I think that at least is important. Not necessarily Kaiser Helms. Yeah, what an interesting conclusion, Chrysanth. I wonder if it has anything to do with any of your heritage. So to answer your question, Chrysanth, wouldn't it mean it's open if it's monsters of both 5e and Pathfinder? Not exactly, because they have a unique relationship. Now you notice when I found it in Hearthstone, I immediately eased up a little bit. But with you gotta remember, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder is a direct offshoot of Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons at the time allowed the creators of Pathfinder to use their lore and IP in their own setting and rule set. So they have a lot of crossover and licensing agreements, and just established history of just not protecting their IP. So in those cases, and because of the OGL as well, Pathfinder has always been able to get away with using a lot of things that other systems can't. So there are some crossovers there where, no, that's not necessarily true. If both systems have it, that doesn't mean that it is not protected IP. But if it's in the system's resource document, that's another story. That's usually where the unprotected stuff goes, which is why you won't find like mind flayers in there. Mind flayers are exclusively D&D. Yeah, they are a protected IP. They are not in the resource document for you to use. All right. So let's see. What do I mean by undead? So death webs are they're basically the desiccated husks of colossal spiders that are inhabited by thousands of tiny arachnids. Um, and they kind of like function together as a hive mind and then animate a corpse working together. So it's undead in that sense. It's actually, for me, this is nightmare fuel. This creature is nightmare fuel. But it is a terrifying creature, so I think it makes sense to have. Oh god, how do you spell desiccated? Desiccated. Wait, hold on. De. Two C's, I think. It's two C's. Birders. The death web is an unsettling. Oh god. An unsettling amalgamation. How do I spell amalgamation? It is amalgamation? Amalgamation? Yes, Word likes what I wrote. That's always a good sign. Always a good sign. Oops. By the way, the death web is the reason you never trust that a dead spider is actually dead. Just vacuum that sucker up. That kind of is making sense. Don't know anything about that, Chrysanth. Nope, nope, don't know nothing about it. else can we say about these things? Now, where the hell did my typer go? Oh, okay. All right. So I kind of talked about what they are. I think they would have a venom potency of some kind, which I kind of put in the first paragraph. So the second one, I guess we could talk about where they're found. They're certainly going to be in tunnels and caves. Dense woodlands, probably. Seems to be a frequent combination of these last several monsters, but I promise you there'll be more variety than than that. But I mean, this is what makes sense for this particular creature. Now, these guys are actually probably hunters. But I mean, I also probably could spin a web, maybe. And snare prey. Oops, opponents. Hmm. Actually, let's talk about adventurers. Adventure. Hold on. Adventurers. That's the RS, right? Yeah. Yeah, I imagine they mostly run down prey, but maybe they got webs lying around just in case. Mm. I also like the idea that once they've either caught or subdued them, that the swarm just leaves the husk and like overwhelms the person down below. Maybe the smaller spiders themselves are the ones that actually are poisonous and have the venom, but they hide within the exoskeleton. How's this for terrifying, Chrysanth? Am I giving you nightmares yet? I feel like Arendor and Mordecai would both not like these guys. Yeah, they probably would be tied to some dark magic, I would say. Or some necromantic rituals involved. Which will also piss Mordecai off. I don't know what's more terrifying, the idea that this might be the result of dark magic, or if they're just naturally inclined to work together this way and swarm you from their husk. Those are both pretty terrifying thoughts, to be honest. All right, Frost, you lurk. You lurk like you do. Okay, Chrysanth, the idea of like 1,000 spiders swarming over you, though, that doesn't bother you? What? Oh, Peter Parker. So basically, Peter Parker of Earth 11580 went to a lab where some dude was experimenting on a colony of spiders. Peter fell into the container, spiders devoured him, and in doing so, absorbed. Oh, God. His consciousness and memories that came together and fought crime. What? So there's a Spider-Man that's literally just a collection of spiders all like bound together. That's horrifying. I do not like that version of Spider-Man at all. Right, we're going to go into demons, and we're going to We're going to write the introduction to demons as a whole first, and then we'll go down into individual demons. I'll tell you a little bit about them as well. Give me 1 second. Somewhere. One of Chrysanth's favorite creatures is in this category. God, we talk a lot. I found what I was looking for. All right. Yeah, not a big fan of that Spider-Man, gonna be honest. So I don't know if we've really talked about demons. I don't think Frost has either. They come from a place called the Underside, which is sort of a malevolent reflection of Erudia. It's a ethereal echo that exists just beneath the surface of the visible world. And it was created accidentally by Grix during a cataclysmic event during the Godkiller War. Some sort of a weapon that had been hidden by the Keepers. He tried to access it, and when it went off, it created a twisted mirror realm, like the resulting explosion or whatever. Instead of like destroying everything, just a magical surge went out and created this mirror world. But it's a kind of a fractured reality. It's bizarre. It's like a bizarre and abstract version of the real world, and where the landscapes and objects are similar but grotesquely distorted. And this is where demons come from. Demons exist in the underside. And they're ruled by the undergods, which are titanic demonic entities that serve as kind of like dark dark counterparts to Erudia's normal gods. They're sort of reflections of them, but corrupted and twisted and perverted. But they're not truly gods themselves. They're just very, very powerful beings. So I'm probably going to need like at least 3 paragraphs to really talk about demons, I think. Yeah, it's like a twisted, shadowy version of the world, kind of ethereal in nature, and everything there is twisted and brutal. The demons exist under the brutal. Let's see. Demons are chaotic and destructive. They're instinctual, and they have an urge to spread suffering and entropy wherever they go. So I could probably take a good chunk of this out of my already established lore here and just some spots on it. Chaotic and malevolent. They can be summoned by spellcasters to be bodyguards. Complete horrific missions. They can be very. They can range a lot in the ways that they look. They can be like grotesquely humanoid to monstrous amalgamations of beasts and creatures and shadows. Probably the most important part for the setting is that they reside in the underside, ruled by the undergods. There's a pretty thin veil that separates Erudia from the underside as well. And one of the most critical weak points is actually near Infernus, which is where the devils are. And so they often try to escape through that thin veil there to get into the main world. Because there are demons who want to escape this underside and then go and conquer the greater world. And this is also where dark elves exist as well, because where this device went off was right next to an elven colony, and so some really dark replicants of those people were echoed into this reality, and they're a darker manifestation of the elven people. Am I falsely assuming you've read the Dresden Files and are referencing the Never Never? Yes, I think you are falsely assuming that. Oops, shit. What did I just hit? No. It doesn't store souls. This is not. So there's a separate place. So in Furnace, Mordecai has. He's the god of the underworld, which is called the Nether Realms. And that has multiple planes on it, kind of some subplanes, and he overrules that. So there's a place for kind of the good souls to go, a place for the bad souls to go, and there's a higher level where paragons go, souls who are honored and being rewarded by the gods, so to speak. So that's where the afterlife happens. The underside is not an afterlife place. It's just a place that it's an echo of the main world and a disfiguration of a lot of the things that exist on it. So like the buildings are weird and different and abstract. There are creatures that are twisted and different. There's even a reflection of the gods there called the undergods, but they're not truly gods. And then kind of at the ground zero of where this ancient keeper weapon went off, the elven colony that was there was destroyed, and those elves were echoed into this new realm as a darker version of themselves. And so this is we don't have drow, but we do have dark elves, and these dark elves are from the underside, and they have a great disdain for the world outside. think this is pretty good, actually. I don't really need to change much. So I can probably keep that. Then we'll need to talk about some specific demons. Not the least of which might be a Baylor. And Baylors are in a lot of systems, so I'm pretty sure they are not. They are not copyrighted. These guys would be pretty damn tough. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel too hard on what a Baylor is. They're kind of self-explanatory. This might be the last one we hit up tonight. So what if we say under demons we have Baylor. The Baylor stands as one of the most fearsome and kind of like generals, right? So commanding demons of the underside, towering in stature. This horned nightmare is covered, no, wreathed in flames. It's shit. Immense wings spreading terror. Hold on. I had a thought. It was this horn nightmare. Its immense wings spreading terror. Okay. It's definitely got to have a flaming whip. That's pretty iconic with the image. Hmm. inspiring dread with its mere presence. I would say they're probably general capacity. So, Baylors often serve as generals. And they serve under the Undergods directly. And probably reside over legions of demons. They're probably very smart, but also very strong. I can spell, I promise. What else could I say about Baylors that would be important? Take this part out of my... Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't read it verbatim. I said my thoughts out loud, but I didn't say what I actually wrote for the most part. I think that's pretty good. I also noted that while some Baylors, well, most Baylors are subordinate to the Undergods, there are some that have become so powerful in their own right that they have their own factions in the Underside. Trying to carve out their own kind of like little realms of terror. You shall not pass! Yeah, that's what I was just saying. That there is some vying for power here. Some Baylors get a little full of themselves and think they might actually have a chance at carving out their own territory and defying the Undergods. And sometimes they'll have some success, but ultimately they don't last forever. The Undergods always win. Well, that's an interesting question. So, Baelor or Balar was a leader of the Formians, a group of malevolent supernatural beings and considered the most formidable. He is often described as a giant with a large eye that wreaks destruction when opened. This is Irish mythology. Very interesting. Baelor personifies the harmful aspects of the sun. So yeah, Baelors are rooted in some real world mythology. Curious if Balrogs come from the same place since they are Irish. Interesting. So it looks like Tolkien may have been inspired to kind of fire demons from Old English um, mythology of the Sigilwara that he studied in detail in 1930s. So there you go. Just some convergences with borrowed names, I suppose. It's what's it called? Pandemonium? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yeah, demons and devils don't exactly like each other here either. But they don't have like a big blood war like they do in D&D. In this one, it's actually more of a duty. The devils have a duty to protect Infernus and the Nether Realms, and there's a weak area between the underside and the veil to the real world and in Infernus, and they have to kind of protect the wall, protect the barrier, sort of thing. But that's about the extent of it. All right, I think that's good. I think we've done a healthy amount tonight. I normally go a little bit later, but I am running on some fumes, and I've got some other things I got to knock out too. So I think we're going to wrap there. I mean, we did a lot for one session. We got through the centaurs, the dark mantle, death web. We got down some basics about demons as a whole, and then we hashed out the Baelor. Um, and I'll probably work on some demons in between. And I can't wait to do an entry on the Smiler. That one's going to be tricky because the Smiler has some very intricate details to its lore, and I have to somehow condense that down to about 2 paragraphs. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one. That will be a challenge. But hey, if you liked what you've seen here, if you're enjoying the lore and what we're discussing, and you'd like to see more, you could support Legend Seeker by joining as a member on our Patreon. And when you do that, you'll get to get priority access to the lore as it's being written. Some of it that's not here on the stream, as well as artwork. And when the playtest becomes available, you'll be among the first to be able to do that. And we still have, I think, 3 mythic tier slots left. So if you want to be a major supporter, you could do that. And after you stick around long enough as a mythic supporter, you will earn your own in-universe character, and it will be somebody of significance. It won't be like some barkeep or something, unless you want a significant barkeep. But it's going to be somebody of considerable power, someone like a Laurel Silverhand or a Drist or somebody like that. That is going to be iconic and powerful and renowned in the lore itself. What did I do now? So yeah, that is a tier you can support as well. But there's plenty of other tiers there, and you can support at many different levels and get access to, at a minimum, the lore, but also some more advanced lore the higher you go, as well as artwork. And occasionally I'll put some random videos, some unique things that aren't really category specific. Like I showed off some printed assets recently as well. So consider supporting. It goes a long way towards helping, and you guys have been phenomenal. But for now, we're going to go to the temporary version of the ending screen, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.